Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Dean Rogers. Welcome back to the Dean Rogers Show. Today, I'm very excited. We have a special guest, Mr. Geary. What's up, Corey?
What's going on, Dean? How you doing?
I'm good, man. So we were talking before the show, and you got me all hyped up and excited for you. Just to tell everybody a little bit more about you, you created Novation Nation, and I've seen you all over the place talking about Novation. So I can't wait to dive into that and what it's done for your real estate business. You've built a 7-figure nationwide business in real estate, and super excited to hear more about this. Converted full-time into crypto. So you got these multiple businesses going. All super exciting stuff, really niche stuff that not everybody's doing. So you're on the cutting edge of things. And so let's dive in, man. Let's talk about your story. How'd you even get started into real estate? How'd you even get started in crypto? And then we'll unpack it from there.
Yeah, real estate, man. That's a very interesting story. I was working as a blackjack dealer at the casino here in Arizona. And the dealers here, you take your own tips home. So it was a good job, man. It's like being a bartender at a high-end nightclub. So I was able to save quite a bit of money doing that work. And I remember I used to watch that Fix or Flip or Flop by Tarek Al Musa.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was home watching that show one night. And this is a true story. I was sitting there with my girlfriend at the time. She was a part-time blackjack dealer, part-time realtor. And she goes, "Why don't you fix and flip a house so I can list it?" Because she knew I had some money put aside. And I was like, I don't know. It seems easy enough. It takes 30 minutes and you make $80,000. And why don't I fix and flip a house?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So literally, dude, it's funny how things work out. Because I was running around the neighborhood the next day because I was on my morning run. And I saw one of those bandit signs. It said, fix and flip, buy price $250, ARV $350. And it had a phone number. I stopped on my morning run. I called that phone number. I bought that house. It took me 6 months and I made $8,000. That was my very first deal in real estate. And the girlfriend got to list the property. And so she made a little bit of commission, on that deal. Fast forward a little bit. I started going to local RIAs during that time. So I'm like, man, I would like to really learn how to do this. And I want to start meeting people who are also doing this. And bought my second house from a wholesaler here. Local wholesaler. He's actually he's a massive he's a dinosaur here. He's been in the industry for like 30 years. He's one of those type of guys. But I bought a house from him. It took me 3 months and I made $20,000. So I'm like, okay, cool. This is going better. My third deal, like a dummy, and I thought I knew what I was doing. I thought like I could just scale the business. I don't know what I was thinking. I bought 4 houses all at once from that wholesaler. I ended up getting a new contractor at the time because the other one kind of sucked. And then we had a falling out. And then I got another one that someone referred me, but I didn't do any background check on them. I didn't check the ROC. I didn't do any due diligence whatsoever. Big mistake. And that contractor took me to the cleaners. On those 4 houses, I lost $250,000. I lost my previous flip money, obviously. I lost my life savings that I had in my bank. And then I lost some 401k money. I took a 401k loan from the casino, and I used that money too. And I lost that money too. So, I mean, it basically wiped me out to zero. I had to re-wholesale the houses back to the wholesaler who sold me those houses. And, at least I had my job. So I had my job still. I was still working in the casino. And, it hurt, man. It really was a dark time in my life when I lost all that money, and I didn't know how I was going to continue on. I just knew I wanted to continue on. And the funny thing is I would hear about how these wholesalers are getting deals and you don't need much money, right? It's like you don't need to put money into fixing and flipping them, and you can make money wholesaling. And I was like, well, how do these wholesalers get these deals? And this is a true story, man. I went on Google and I typed in, how do wholesalers get deals? This is back in 2016.
I love that.
Yeah. And guess who popped up?
I got my first guess. You want me to guess?
Go.
Sean Terry.
Yep.
Yep. That was the first search result for me too, man, when I got started.
Freaking Sean Terry popped up, man. And of course, I love his energy and I love his whatever he's about. Yeah, I mean, I'm blessed to call him a friend now, man. He's an amazing individual. But I went down the Sean Terry rabbit hole. I bought his course. And, I implemented his course. I started putting out bandit signs. I started doing some direct mail, and it took me a few months, but I got my first deal. And then I ended up joining his mastermind, the board where at the time he was part of Boardroom. It was him, Kent Clothier, and Justin Colby back there. Now he's got his own mastermind, the Syndicate mastermind, which is really cool. And, yeah, man, that was how I broke into real estate. And I didn't want to give up, and I was out of money. And that's how I got into wholesaling. It wasn't so much that I wanted to be a wholesaler. It was like I was forced in that direction.
Right. Dude, what a crazy time. I mean, I've had my losses too, and big ones that were big setbacks. Anybody knows my story has heard me talk about it. And I've heard you tell you that part of your story too. That is, I mean, you're just in the darkest place, dude. You just feel so low. You know that your worth is more. You know that like you made the mistake. It's your fault, right?
Right.
You can't blame anyone else, even though someone might have done something wrong to you or someone else in the equation was the direct result of it. It still comes back to you. You decided to buy those houses. You decided to use that contractor. I have the same mistakes that I
decided not to follow up with him as he was sending me pictures of other houses, and I was working in the casino at the time, so I wasn't driving out to the houses every week. He would send me pictures and then like invoice me, and I would send him money, and dude, a couple months went by before I actually went to the house. The house is stupid, completely. I don't even know what I was thinking at the time. Like, why would I not go check up on his work? Why was I so lazy? Like, what was I thinking? Like, that it would just be done? Like, I'm giving this guy money every single week. Yeah, when you look back at it, there were so many mistakes that I made.
And you're probably thinking to yourself, I'm a good guy. Like, why would someone, rip me off like that? Like,
and it hurts because in the beginning of your journey, you don't have a lot, right? Like, since then, I've had times where I've lost 100 grand here, 150 grand, like where it's like on deals or on a new business venture that didn't work out. I've had that happen. And, but it doesn't like, you don't get set back as bad. Like, but when it's all the money you have in your bank and part of your 401k, it's like, that's when everything. It really hurt.
Yeah. I had a similar experience. So how'd you crawl out of that, man? What was that like? How did you dig deep? How'd you get out of there? It was wholesaling, right?
Wholesaling was the way I got out. I'm very fortunate, lucky that, that spiritually, mentally, and physically, I got out of it too, though, because I went down a deep rabbit hole of drugs and alcohol during that time, which I've always been into, like a lot of drugs and alcohol. I'm completely sober now, which is great. I always say real estate saved my life because real estate's really kind of gave me the awakening that I need to love myself and to, treat myself better. And that's how I was able to go sober. But back then I wasn't sober, man. And so I went down a deep, binge rabbit hole of drugs and alcohol. And it was dark, man. It was very dark, but I just knew that I didn't want to give up. I knew that I had to push forward somehow, because if I didn't push forward, that money's gone. Like, the only way I was going to get that money back was by continuing to try and do something with this real estate thing. It's like, there's only way I'm going to get the money back. Otherwise, if I just I give up on just deal cards the rest of my life, well, that money's gone forever. And it's just like nothing ever came of it. And that, I'm very stubborn. So it's like, I knew the only way to get it back was to push forward. So
absolutely. That was the same realization I had too. Like, there's no going back. I already went back. I'm at zero. Yeah. Like I'm below zero. The only way to get back is to fight and claw my way out. So you did wholesaling. That got you out of the hole. You got into the business. How'd you get into Novations, man? Like, how'd you even find out about that? I mean, that I think really helped you blow up.
This is a great story because I always learn the hard way, man, on everything. So I'll kind of fast forward. I'm doing wholesaling. I'm trying to scale the business. I'm doing okay. I'm scaling it here. I'm here in Phoenix, Arizona, which is kind of the guru capital of the world. We got a lot of guys out here just, banging it out, like Carlson Sal, Sean Terry, Cody Sperber. They're all out here. It's great. Yep. And I'm doing okay though. I'm working out of my house. I've actually hired some team members, so I've got like some college kids coming over and working for me. And, we're doing about maybe 5 to 10 deals a month. And then I was like, well, how do I scale past this? And I'm in a couple of different masterminds. And it was about the time when this whole nationwide wholesaling was getting cool. When everyone was kind of talking about it, Nick Perry was out there. He was, glorifying it. And then Sean Terry did too. Sean Terry came out and was like, hey, I'm going nationwide, blah, blah. This is the way they do deals. And like, it was like the new thing. And I had eventually moved out of the house, got an office. The team had grown even more. And then I started doing the nationwide wholesaling. In the beginning, it was a struggle, bro. Oh, my God. Like, it wasn't the same. It was a different business model because here in Phoenix, you know how to underwrite the deals because you're in your own backyard. You know what investors are going to pay for them because you know them on a personal level. In fact, I was starting to fix and flip again, and I was actually making money doing that. So I knew how to evaluate deals here in my local market. But when you go nationwide, man, every market is so different. The way you evaluate the deals, the cost of the remodeling, the construction costs, what the investors will be willing to pay, what the average spreads that they're getting on those deals. So many different numbers are different than your local market. And here in Phoenix, it was real competitive. And so our deals were a lot tighter. Man, we would lock up deals. I would say every 5 contracts, maybe one would close when we first went nationwide, maybe even worse than that. And so I ran in the red, deep in the red when we first went nationwide. And here's the first mistake I made. I turned all my local off. I should have never turned the local off. I completely made the switch and said, okay, guys, we're going nationwide. And we went nationwide, and then I was like, we were making no money. I was spending all this money on PPC. And it was painful, man. Didn't have any cash buyers. I didn't know how to underwrite these deals, but we were locking up contracts. It was just a shit show. And so I was in a mastermind one day. I was out in Florida at a mastermind. This was a wholesale mastermind, though. And there was a guy who was in that mastermind talking how he made like $2.2 million last year in his local market there in Florida. And he's like, over 1 million of that was novations. And I was like, okay, what's a novation? And he goes on to talk about how he gets these deals under contract and he lists them on the MLS for conventional finance buyers. And I was like, freaking light bulb went on in my head. I was like, man, if I could crack that code and figure out how to list my properties for conventional financing, that's the solution to my problem. That's it. That's it. I can do the business I'm doing and scale. And so that's where I first heard about it, was in a mastermind. And that was about, 2017 or 18. And so I came back home. I implemented the Novation strategy that I learned from him. The problem that the strategy that he taught and what most gurus teach is it has a lot of liability involved. Use a power of attorney, collect the seller's proceeds. You sign the deed where the seller doesn't sign the deed. And that's what I was doing in the beginning. And that is a very tough business model to scale. You got a lot of liability on the table. And so I hired some attorneys to kind of redraft the whole thing. I went to this guy here locally. He does a lot of creative financing. And I was like, hey, man, how can I do this model with less liability? And he's like, man, well, instead of a power of attorney, use an attorney in fact. He goes, don't collect the seller's proceeds. And then he redrafted some of the other paperwork to allow the construction of the deal or the transaction of the deal to take place with the least amount of liability as possible. So I didn't create Novation Nation. My attorneys did, but I paid them to create it for me. And I just went out there and executed. And at that point, we scaled it and grew, man. We got to the point at one time we were doing about 30 to 40 deals a month that we'd have on the board doing novations nationwide. Yeah. So it was awesome once we kind of figured it out, and kind of cracked that code. But, it was, out of necessity because I was in pain. Why I implemented novations.
That is usually where new great ideas come, is just the necessity. You have to adapt or you die,
Or you die. Yeah. I could have went back to the local model. And that was like my other thought process. Man, I should probably just go back and be a local wholesaler. That was working. I was making money. But I was like, man, I want to scale. I want to do, like, everyone else is having success doing this nationwide thing. Why can't I? Right? It's like, and so that's how it unfolded.
Yeah, you found out how to make it work for you. So tell me, so there's going to be some people that hear this and are still not sure what a novation is.
Yeah.
let's break a deal down.
Let's do it.
What does a deal look like from start to finish?
Yep.
How do I communicate this to the seller?
Yep.
How do I even get in front of the seller in the first place? Because that
Sure.
may or may not be different. How do I communicate to the seller? What are the contracts involved? What does it look like to get that thing finalized and across the finish line and get paid? Let's break that down.
Sure. Yeah, kind of the whole Novation business structure there. And yeah, man, let's start from the beginning. As far as getting leads for Novations, they're no different than what you're doing right now in wholesaling. I find that the best lead source probably for Novations is like Google Ads PPC, where like, because every lead that you got coming in, it's not just ugly houses. It's every house, every seller under the sun. It's, you got some rural type houses. You'll get some, some ranches. You'll get some, mobile homes. You'll get like, I don't know, you get stuff in the city too. And you get pretty houses, you get ugly houses. And that's why I think the Google Ads is the best. And plus the sellers actually want to sell. Where if you're doing cold calling, and it's the same stuff with wholesaling, right? You're reaching out to them and, like, oh, just give me an offer. You called me. And with Google Ads, you don't have that. So PPC is my favorite lead source. And the way we do it, man, is a lead comes in and the seller, typically they have a number in mind. We always try to get their number out of them first. It's the same, in wholesaling, same negotiations that you always do. And what you'll do is you get a number out of them. If the number's in the money on wholesale, cash offer, because you're always going to lead with cash. Always. It's the same like in creative financing. If you're going to pitch a seller carryback or sub 2 or something like that, you're going to lead with cash. It's the same with Novations. Yeah. And so we'll lead with cash. If the number comes in and we're in the money, of course, we're going to try to negotiate it down a little bit more. And then what we do is when we go to send all the agreements, we'll send over all the Novation paperwork, and then we'll add an additional $5,000. Depending on the purchase price. If say it's a couple $100,000, we might add $5,000. Basically, we're going to dangle a carrot in front of them. We're going to add a little bit more money on the contract and the paperwork, and then we're going to explain to them what we call the concierge service. The concierge service is just the nice way of saying Novations, and that's how we're going to get them to agree to do the Novation with us versus taking the cash offer. That's if they want, if we're in agreement on cash. Now, if it's their offer or their number is higher than cash, then we're just going to run the numbers and see if it can fit the Novation model and see if we can give them the concierge service offer still.
Gotcha.
So that's the first.
Just something I want to make sure we didn't pass over. It sounds like when it comes to making an offer, and it sounded like you were around the cash offer price, maybe you're agreed to a number, you'll send your offer. Is it the actual purchase contract with the Novation language in there?
Yep.
Or is it like an offer letter that says, here's your offer. By the way, there's this other little dangled carrot.
No, we'll send them with the actual contract with the purchase price with the additional $5,000 more. Then we also send them what's called the Novation and Indemnification Agreement. And then we send them the attorney of fact. That's the initial 3 documents you're going to send to the seller to lock your deal up. And so we'll send that right out of the gate to because 8 times out of 10, man, they take it. They take it.
So you'll send all that paperwork before they've even heard about what the Novation is?
Yep. And we'll explain to them what the concierge service is. And basically all we're telling them said, hey, Mr. Seller, we're able to give you the additional $5,000 more because we're going to go ahead and sell this to another buyer before we close. We are not your buyer if we pay you the additional $5,000. And so we explain to them that we're going to need access to the property so we can show it to the other buyer. We're going to explain to them that we are going to put it on the MLS, but this is how we're going to give them more money. And so we're very transparent with the process with the seller, very from beginning to end, letting them know that we're going to need showings. We're going to be working with realtors. There's going to be an inspection period. And basically it's just a regular retail transaction. And so as long as you're transparent with them and upfront, you'll be surprised. It does not scare the seller. Like the whole ideology where we're taught in wholesaling to basically lie to the seller, I don't know why we're taught that. You can be fully transparent with them and they don't give a shit. In fact, I feel like you have less deals that fall apart because you're being fully transparent with the seller. Versus like you're not telling the seller, you're selling the contract. And then when you do sell the contract, you're not telling the buyer how much you're making. And Novation's buyers don't care how much you're making. They're retail buyers. It's great. You have less deals that fall apart. And so all you're basically doing is wholesaling without taking possession.
Right. Yeah.
That's what it is. It's wholesaling without taking possession. It's where wholesale and wholesale kind of meet. And I mean, for the seller, they don't mind it as long as as long as they feel like they're getting a better deal out of it, a bit more money usually, then they're going to be more acceptant. Now, there's three things that kill novations where it doesn't work. One, if the seller is not allowing you access. If you cannot get access for any reason, then it's not going to fit the Novation model. We know we're not going to be able to, work this concierge service offer in. If like say maybe there's a tenant in there and the tenant hasn't paid rent in 6 months and they can't get the tenant out, right? That those type of deals, you're not going to be able to novate. Two, if the seller absolutely has to have their money in like say 2 weeks or a month even, where they need that money now because something, bad is happening in their life. That's another, with Novation, you need additional time. We need time. We need access to get them the more money that we're promising them. So time's another one. If they need the money in 2 weeks, then the wholesale is the only option it's going to be, or maybe you buy it for cash if it's a good enough deal. You actually buy it. Number three, and I've bent the rule on this one. Is if the property is livable. You want a livable property because it makes it very easy for you to conduct the transaction. You have the financing. Although I've novated some properties, man, that I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna get away with this, and I have. I've done it. You list them for conventional as is financing is how you do it. You get around with some of that, but that one in the beginning when you're starting to do novations, just do the livable properties. And that's it, man. As long as it meets those three criterias and, you're fully transparent with the seller on what's happening and maybe you incentivize them with some more money, or maybe you're able to give them the offer that they want. Cause maybe they want 190 and you can only offer 150 cash. You're like, hey, Mr. Seller, as an investor, I'd have to be at 150 cash. But I tell you what, I can give you 170 if we do the concierge service. And then the seller's like, oh, what's the concierge service? And you walk through the steps with them. And then maybe they take maybe they're like, oh, well, I wouldn't do that for 170, but maybe I'll do it for 180, and that's where the negotiations are starting. And you'll be surprised, man. The transparency though, that's one of my favorite things about novations. And one of the most things I hate about wholesaling is, the all the gray area that you're working in. And novations doesn't have that.
So I want to unpack that because I think that's really, really interesting in a different perspective. So I think a lot of people hearing that say that sounds cool, but like I'm nervous to say to the seller, hey, for $5,000 more than my cash offer, I'm going to go list your property. When they're naturally going to think, well, how much are you going to list it for? Right? They might get curious. Or they might say, well, why don't I just list it myself? Right? These are some questions that are, I'm sure, objections. How do you respond to those?
Yeah, absolutely. And so the same way that you can respond it when you're talking cash, if they're like, hey, my sister can list this for 300. Okay, well then go ahead and list it with your sister. It's perfectly fine. But understand, Mr. Seller, if she lists it, you're going to be responsible for the repairs. You're going to be responsible for the realtor fees. You're going to be responsible for the title fees. Anything else that comes up on the concierge service, we're going to take care of everything for you, including the repairs. And that usually is what the real sweetener is in the deal is when they hear that when the inspection happens and anything that comes back on the repairs, that you're the one that's going to take care of all that. They love that. That's why most people don't want to list their house. They don't want to deal with the process of going through a listing where we're gonna white glove that service for them. They don't got to do anything except for sit back and collect their check. And that's exactly how we explain it to them. It's a convenience factor. And that's why they're calling us in the first place to get a cash offer. They want convenience. and they're willing to take a haircut for that convenience.
Right.
We're still going to get into the convenience. Now, that it won't be as convenient. We might need some additional time, and we might need some walkthroughs. In fact, we will. And so that part right there is where you're trading off convenience for money.
Got it. So I think that makes a lot of sense. I'm remembering back what you said. So handling those objections, they're not having to deal with it. You're going to take it on. Is 5,000 like, because I'm in a similar price point market where it's a couple 100,000, right?
Yeah. Typically, it's enough to dangle in front of them to jump. Yeah, typically. Yeah.
And as you said, you don't necessarily say, okay, great. In your example, 200,000, we've got a deal at cash offer price. Let me send you the contract. You don't say, by the way, I'm going to have another extra option for you. You just send it and they observe it and then they respond.
Yeah, because they get anchored in the head. You agree on the $200,000 cash offer. Like, you guys are in negotiations. You agree, like, hey, the underwriting team approved. Let me go ahead and get all this drafted up for you, pushed over. In their head, that $200,000, they've already spent it. It's anchored in their head. And they get the contract and it's 205. Maybe it's 210. Maybe you put 210 on there because the 200 is a little bit in that. Maybe you offer a little bit more. So maybe it's 210. I mean, $10,000 more. And they get excited when they see that. And you explain them the process. You let them know, say, hey, we can still do the $200,000 cash, or we can still do that contract right now if that's how you want to proceed. But how about we just get you 10 grand more? And I'm telling you, 8 times out of 10, not every time, you're not going to get it every time, but 8 times out of 10, they're going to take the more money. Like I said, usually it's because they don't have the time why they wouldn't take it. Because once they know that you're going to deal with all the pain and hassle of the selling of the property, and especially the inspection and the repairs that go along with that inspection, they're good. Like, they're good. That's why they called you in the first place.
Yeah. So you said 8 times out of 10, they're going to take it. So you send the offer and it has the purchase contract. It has the $200,000 price. Below it says,
right.
Below it says, oh, by the way, if you take this other option, you get 205 or 210. And it's got the other agreements, and then they have to opt in for that.
So our purchase agreement has the novation clause embedded right into the contract, whether it's cash or novation. That way I can use one agreement for all my transactions. So I think it's on paragraph 9. This is the novability clause is what it's called. And so we send that to them. We send the novation and indemnification agreement, which is really what makes the novation legal. It also tells the title company what we're doing, and it indemnifies all the parties from being sued. That way I can't get sued, the seller can't get sued, buyer can't get sued. It indemnifies them. And then the attorney in fact gives me the signing rights by them, so I can list their property, I can accept offers, I can do addendums, whatever I need to do, change pricing on the MLS. Is what the attorney in fact gives me the capability of doing. The only thing it doesn't allow me to do is sign the final deed, which I don't want to sign the deed anyways because that's too much liability. So we let the seller know that they're going to have to still go to title when they go at closing to sign the deed and collect their check, is what we let them know. So
got it.
But that's it. So those are 3 instruments in the beginning of the transaction that you'll need. So the purchase agreement, the novation indemnification agreement, the attorney in fact. They execute those.
Do they need to notarize any of those documents?
Nope. No. If you use
do these contracts work nationwide too?
I've done them in almost every state.
Wowzer.
Every state. Yep. With the power of attorney way, the old school novation way, you need to have that notarized. And man, I can't tell you how many times, even though the seller will agree to your concierge service or however you're pitching it, and the notary shows up on their doorstep to notarize a power of attorney, even though they agreed it verbally on the phone with us like a day before, I can't tell you how many times they call us and go, we're not just going to give you our house. We're not giving you power of attorney. I'm like, we discussed this already. You have to sign a power of attorney for us to be able to. They hate it. It scares the living crap out of sellers when you're taking power of attorney. Not to mention, if you ever end up in a court of law one day because seller was suing you for whatever reason, because we get sued all the time in this business, if they're suing you for, say, real estate fraud and you use the power of attorney, man, that is not going to look good to a judge. If you use a power of attorney, if you sign the deed, of the transferring of from the seller, you sign that deed. And then way some people teach it, you collect the proceeds. Some people teach you collect all the proceeds and then you distribute proceeds to the seller after closing. Man, I want nothing to do with that stuff.
Yeah. No, once you said it that way, a little bit more detailed, that doesn't sound good either.
Oh God, dude, nightmare. And I had it one time where I got in trouble in Illinois, and my paperwork is the reason why I got saved on that deal. So I mean, it happens. You're going to get pissed off sellers. You're going to get someone you get pissed off realtors. You're just going to ruffle feathers out there doing this business, especially when you're doing a volume, which is the way we were doing it. We were doing a crap ton of these deals. And so you want to make sure you're doing the least amount of liability as possible.
Yeah. So let's talk about the back end of it. So you get the property listed, you get an offer accepted, and you go down that process.
Well, as soon as you get the offer accepted, you're the one that's able to sign the agreement because you have the attorney in fact. You listed the property with a realtor. You were able to sign the listing agreement because you have the attorney in fact. When the offer comes in, let's say you agree to it. Maybe there's some negotiations in there, whatever it may be. You agree to it. You can execute the contract. You would execute it by signing your name. And you put by BY, seller's name. Oh no, seller's name by your name. There we go. Seller's name by your name, AIF. And that's how you execute the contract. And then, then at that point, you you open escrow. You record a notice of interest on the property. So that's going to be your fourth piece of paperwork that you need. You record a notice of interest, not a memorandum, but you want a cloud title because this is going to protect you and allow you to get paid at the end of the deal. So record the notice of interest on the property. Then you're going to go through the inspection. You're going to go through the appraisal process. Key nugget here. On the inspection, 9 times out of 10, we don't do any repairs. We just negotiate with the buyer. We just negotiate the repairs. So say it's $10,000 repairs. Maybe we tell the buyer, hey, how about we give you $12,000 off the purchase price? And that's how usually we get out of all our inspection repairs. We just negotiate.
Yeah.
We negotiate credits.
That way you don't have to actually do the work.
Right. We just negotiate credits. If you're doing FHA or VA lending, you're going to have to do the repairs for the financing contingencies. But the majority of our deals are conventional financing. So we're just doing credits. And so you go through the inspection, go through the appraisal process, and then it's time for closing. And at closing, you're going to do a release of interest. The release of interest, you're going to state how much is owed to you, and the title company will release the notice. So it's like a lien release. They'll release the notice and allow you to be paid. And that's how you get around in wholesaling with an assignment. Most lenders are not going to approve that because you're not a party to the transaction, right? Where in this, you're a lien release. You're a lien payoff. You got to think about it. A mortgage is a lien payoff. A mechanic's lien. If I go to your house and I say I do a roof on your house, put a new roof on your house, you don't pay me, I could put a lien against your house, like a mechanic's lien, and that has to be paid off when you go to sell the property. And I don't have to be part of that transaction. It's the same thing with us now in Novations. That's how we get paid. We get paid through a lien release.
Got it. That was going to be my question is, like you said, wholesale fees are typically not financeable. So if you have a conventional loan, FHA loan, they're just going to look at that and be like, what is this?
They're going to laugh at you.
Yeah. We're not financing this. The purchase price says it's this.
Yeah.
And we're not paying for this. We're not financing it. So that's really interesting. The lien release is what gets you to make that financeable and get paid through escrow.
That's exactly right. Now you'll have a once in a while with a lender they'll question you. What is it? Like, well, I'm financing this, but what's going on here? And you'll have a conversation with them, and then most of the times they understand. I don't think I've ever had a deal blow up in the 11th hour because of the lender.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So we kind of broke down everything A to Z, what that looks like. Is there anything else you wanted to cap off Novations on?
I mean, that's pretty much it. Just like any other business model, when you're first learning this and scaling this, you're gonna hit a lot of road bumps, right? You're gonna hit a lot of barriers because unless you have an experience of being a realtor and knowing how retail transactions work, that's where the real challenges have been for most of my students that I've taught this to, is because they didn't understand how the inspection period works, or they didn't understand, like, there's certain things with retail transactions that you'd really have to cross your T's and dot your I's on, or the deal doesn't go through. We're like in wholesaling, it's like almost like we just do whatever we want, and then, like, because we're kind of unregulated. Now they're kind of cracking down on that more and more as time goes on, but wholesale is for the most part is unregulated. Where the retail transactions, your typical MLS transaction with conventional financing, that is very regulated. Very regulated. So act with integrity, and you'll be okay. Act with truthfulness, you'll be okay. Just be careful. But it's a great business model. It's made me a crap ton of money, and my average novation fee is higher than my nationwide average wholesale fee. My last time I checked, my average assignment nationwide was around $17K, or my average novation nationwide was around $33K. And that's with all the Midwest states, states like Ohio and Tennessee, where the medium home price is not as much. You do novations out here in California and Oregon, you can make six figures easily on every deal. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, that in itself is basically a podcast to itself, but I'm almost more excited to hear what you're doing in crypto. We got to dive into that just because, dude, it's like kind of like the Wild West, it's like the new gold rush.
It is.
There's a lot of mystery still to it. There's, people that understand it, people that don't. Let's talk about your journey there. What you've been doing, where you're at right now. You might even be wearing a Hex sweater right now.
I'm glad you recognize this.
I did. Yep.
That's awesome. Hex. Funny thing about Hex. Hex is the very, very first cryptocurrency that made me a crypto millionaire. Was Hex. So that's the first. That's why I love it. I love Hex. It's done so well for me in general. But let's talk about let's unpack that a little bit. Go wind back. So just like every entrepreneur, I got shiny object syndrome. We all got it. I started e-commerce businesses. Failed. Oh gosh, man. I've failed at like 2 or 3 other type of businesses beyond the real estate stuff that I do. And so, like, you get shiny object syndrome, and you go down rabbit holes, you get your ass kicked, and you're like, well, let me go back and do either A, you stay in that lane and you really learn and treat it the same way you treat real estate, or you just let it go and go back to real estate. And same thing happened with crypto. I got into crypto in the middle of 2021. I came in at the top of the market. I got my ass handed to me because I was following influencers. I was buying stupid coins that they were shilling me, and as soon as I buy them, they would dump on my head. So I'd buy on a green candle, and then by the end that night, it was a massive red candle, and I got into the marketplace, and lost over 6 figures almost right out of the gate, man. It was like right out of the gate. I lost 6 figures, and now that pain was not nearly the pain like I was when I first started real estate, because like I said earlier, now I have a good business. I'm making a lot of money. It's like I can afford to lose money here and there, where before went that way. So, but it still hurt. And I was like, man, I really want to learn this because I'm seeing all the different statistics on crypto. Did you know in crypto in 2020 and 21, there was more millionaires and billionaires created in that sector, in that niche, than any other niche in the world, including business ownership and including real estate. It's
crazy.
Insane. It's insane. And so, like, I was hearing about all this, and I was seeing people have success, and I'm like, man, what do I got to do to really be successful with this space? Well, let's treat it like real estate. So what did I do? I went out and joined multiple masterminds. I started going to events. I hired a private mentor for my crypto. This is crazy.
Yeah.
I sat down and studied it the way I studied real estate at night. So what I was doing real estate all day. So I'd get up and then, I come in my office and hang out with my team and I'd, make money in real estate. But at night, I was studying crypto all night long. So I was burning the candle at both ends. And I did this for 2 years. For 2 years, learning, absorbing, and then starting to figure out, okay, how this space really works. How does DeFi work? What are some good projects? What are projects here to fix or have a solution for humanity? How do we find those projects instead of finding the Ponzi's and scams that are out there? And so it took me a while to really crack down and learn. But over the course of 2022, I really started accumulating. When everything else was crashing and burning, that's when you buy. That's when you accumulate. Yep. It's the old Warren Buffett saying, buy when people are fearful and sell when they're greedy. This is so everyone does the opposite. Everyone comes in and buys crypto when we're at the market top and everyone's got Lamborghinis. No, Those guys who got the Lamborghinis bought in from the last market cycle. They've been here for 3 years now, and now your exit liquidity. And see, I didn't know that. And so I really started learning. And by the time 2022 was over, my cryptocurrency portfolio was spitting off so much cash flow that it ran circles around my real estate business. And my real estate was holding me back. It sounds kind of crazy. My real estate was holding me back. My crypto portfolio, man, has grown so much. And it kicks off so much money that I basically don't need to do anything ever again if I wanted to now.
That's insane, dude.
Put it that way. And so that was because I sat down and I learned. Yeah. I learned. Most people who come into crypto treat it like a casino. They come in hoping to get rich real quick and they throw a bunch of money at it and they lose and they're like, oh my God, this is a scam. And they walk away. But I did that in real estate. I could have done that in real estate too. On my third deal, I lost my $250,000. Oh, this is a fucking scam. I'm out of here. I'm out of here, right? And I could have. And but I didn't. And so that's how I was able to create success in real estate. It's the same in crypto. I've been creating success in crypto because I sat down and I became a student of the niche. I became a student of the marketplace, of the asset. Cryptocurrency, it is here to solve a massive problem in humanity. It's here to give us our freedom back. It's here to give us self-sovereignty. It's here to teach us to be our own bank. It's here to give us censorship, peer-to-peer transactions. It's here to fix the money. You fix the money, you fix the world. Cryptocurrency will do that. It's just a matter of time and finding the right cryptos to get involved in. Make sure you're avoiding the Ponzi's and scams because cryptocurrency is unregulated. It's the wild, wild west of finance. It really is. And so 98% of all crypto is scams, unless you're going to buy the big ones like Bitcoin, Ethereum, maybe some Dogecoin. Unless you're going after the big ones, that's fine. You can do that. The problem is the mad gains, the big, the legacy wealth that you're going to create out of crypto is not going to come from Bitcoin because the gains are already gone. Bitcoin's at the top of its S curve. It's been around for 14 years. It's old tech. It's a good harbor of money. It's a good store of value like gold is, but you don't buy gold to get rich anymore. It's not going to make you rich. And it's the same with Bitcoin. You can't buy Bitcoin to get rich anymore. It's just a good store of value, but there are good DeFi, which stands for decentralized finance, crypto projects out there being built on the blockchain that can get you a lot of gains. It can get you rich. And the key is to find those projects. And it's like finding a needle in a haystack. You have to dig through hundreds before you find that one that is legitimate, the one that will actually do something in the next market cycle that actually solves a problem on the blockchain. And man, it's been a great journey. And one of my buddies who I knew really well from real estate, we have this very similar business models in real estate. We started getting the crypto at the same time. He was a little bit ahead of me, and he went full-time crypto in the beginning of 2022. And he was doing a lot of the same projects that I'm involved in. We decided to come together and even create a mastermind. And so we're teaching real estate entrepreneurs how to invest in crypto the right way, the safe way, where you hold your own keys, where you interact directly with the code yourself. You interact directly with the blockchain yourself. And it's blown up, man. We have 90 members in the group. And it's awesome, man. It's been a fun journey.
That's wild, man. So you've made me think of so many questions that I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
And other people listening are probably wondering. There's going to be people that are skeptical. There's going to be people that are already invested in it and diehard fans, and everywhere in between. So let me hit you with some hard hitting questions. So first off is, what do you think about the fact that there is literally thousands of cryptocurrencies? I mean, how do you sort through all the crap? You know, like what are your thoughts on that?
Hours and hours of due diligence. I work in the space 8 hours a day now, and you have to go in and you have to research what problem are they trying to solve on the blockchain. That's the first. 2, does it have a community? What does the community look like? 3, what's the narrative? What's the narrative they're trying to sell? Okay. 4, how does the code look? Is the code been audited? Does the code have admin keys? If it does have admin keys, what does that admin keys allow them to do? Can they just mint as much crypto as they want out of Bolivian for their team or maybe for the project creator? Like, what does it allow? Is the code immutable? If it's immutable, great. And so there's all these different checkpoints that you really have to get through to find a good, legitimate cryptocurrency project. And still, you're not guaranteed to that's gonna be a home run. And so you want to be diversified in your portfolio, making sure that you have a handful of good quality sound projects that you invest in. And some will go to the moon and some won't. And that's okay, because the ones that do go to the moon will make up for the ones that don't. And so you're not looking for the one crypto to rule them all. You're only playing the game into the next market cycle. The next market cycle is when you're going to take all your liquidity out of the market. So you don't look, okay, what's going to be the crypto that's going to be here 15 years from now? It doesn't matter. We only want to know what the crypto is going to be here till the top of 2025. That is the next market top. And you can predict the markets by the 4-year cycles. Cryptocurrency runs in 4-year cycles. It's all based around the Bitcoin halving. The next Bitcoin halving is in March of 2024. And like clockwork, after the halving, the bull market returns. A couple other things to notate about 2024. One is the presidential elections are happening in 2024.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. Oh my gosh.
Bitcoin halving, presidential elections. The Fed is going to make a pivot at some point, whether it's this year or next year. They're not going to keep wrecking the markets the entire, forever. They can't. At some point, they're going to make a pivot. It'll probably happen the year of the presidential elections or before, right? And so it's the same year of the Bitcoin halving. And did you know, out of every bull market in cryptocurrency, the adoption doubles. So the last bull market, 4% of all internet users own cryptocurrency in some shape, form, or fashion. And probably most of it was centralized exchanges. We don't do anything with centralized exchanges. We don't mess with Coinbase. We don't mess with FTX. We don't mess with crypto.com, any of that stuff. We only do DeFi. And so only 4% the last bull run. That means probably 8 to 10%. The adoption's doubling every single time as we're moving into these different market cycles. And so we're seeing this as probably a super cycle is coming up with the year of 2024 in cryptocurrency. It's going to be massive.
So you said something interesting. It doesn't matter what you choose. It's all about it.
You need that to last one cycle.
So why do you think that's concerning? Do you think that's concerning though? If you say like, hey, I'm going to grab this because it's going to grow, it's going to be big. I believe in it based on all the research I did, but after I dump it, I don't care about it, and I'm looking for the next thing. Is that a concern about like the lastability of crypto?
No, because it's been doing it for we're on our 4th cycle right now, right? It keeps doing it over and over again, and you just play the cycle. You take all the liquidity off the table on the next market top. You're going to have it's just the way it works. You're going to have new money that comes in on the next market top. All the new money comes in, all the old money gets out. And this happens like clockwork. And so the new money's exit liquidity, which I was at one point in time. I was exit liquidity.
Yeah, me
So
too.
you have new money that comes in, old money gets out. And if we play our cards right, and this is the motto of the group, if we play our cards right, we're going to use cryptocurrency as a wealth creation tool and use real estate as a wealth preservation tool. We'll take the money off the table in 2025 and dump it into real estate, and we'll probably be at a real estate bottom by then. The bottom in real estate is who we're anticipating. The masterminds I'm in, it's not just me, it's a lot of other bigger brains than mine, are anticipating for real estate to bottom out in the end of 2024 or 25. Real estate is a lagging indicator. It's a lagging market. It's always last to be affected by the, what's going on in the economy, where crypto's instant. It's instant to be affected. Something happens that day, it's affected. So if we play our cards right and we see this line up perfectly, man, it could be massive. But then, yeah, you take the money out of crypto in the market top, you wait for it to bottom again, and then you buy back in. Warren Buffett has been doing this with stocks his whole entire life. And he's one of the richest guys in the world. He's not a trader. We're not traders. You just play the market cycle. That's it. And everything has market cycles. Except for crypto is very volatile, but volatile to the upside and volatile to the downside.
What are your concerns about crypto getting banned?
It won't be banned. It'll be regulated. CBDCs are coming. Are you familiar with CBDCs?
Yeah.
Central bank digital currencies are coming. It's all coming. But there's a lot of money in crypto. Think about it. BlackRock is buying right now as we're speaking. BlackRock, the same BlackRock that owns all the real estate.
That's crazy.
They are buying and establishing positions, not only in Bitcoin, but they're establishing positions in all these different DeFi protocols. And so a lot of money is flooding into the space. CBDCs and regulation will allow more money to come into the space. It will allow institutional money. It will allow 401k money to come into space. It opens the door where it basically, so what will happen is you'll get a super cycle out of it. And then once that super cycle is done, crypto will end up mellowing out and start acting like the way the stock market acts now today.
Yeah.
It will mellow out eventually because once all the adoption comes in, then so
then it'll be heavily regulated and
it'll be heavy regulated,
more predictable.
Correct.
And like the stock market, the big players, the hedge funds are the ones that move it up and down every day so that they can make the money that they want, while everyone else is just the normal everyday person gets hammered,
Yep, market makers. The key is you swim with the whales. You got to know how the whales are swimming. You need to play their game. You have to learn their game. If you don't learn their game, you're going to get eaten up and thrown right out. And that's in any, stocks too, right? It doesn't matter. But you learn their game.
That's wild. Okay, so the next questions I got written down here. Do you think crypto replaces fiat currencies?
100%. It is not a matter if, it's just a matter of when. So the dollar is already on its way out. We are losing control with inflation. We're losing control with other countries already letting go of the dollar standard. And so it's just a matter of time before we integrate CBDCs and these new monetary type coins. FedNow is one of them. FedNow is coming out next month, I think July. No, it's July. And FedNow is a CBDC between international banks is all it is. So it's the first step for this new monetary policy that we're going to have. And other countries are already implementing CBDCs. It's a matter of time before we're off the fiat dollar. We destroyed it. Once we took it off the gold standard and we started inflating it to oblivion, it's I think what book was that? I was reading what's the guy with the big hedge fund and stocks?
Ray Dalio.
Yeah, thank you. It's his book. The average money lifespan is between 80 to 100 years. Well, the fiat dollar is on 80 years. We're about 80 years in.
Wow.
So we're coming to the end of that lifespan. Yeah, I can't remember the book. It's at New World Order or New World.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
New World Order. Yeah, I've watched the video on YouTube. It's like a 42-minute video. And dude, I mean, these are like concepts that he takes that are really complex and makes them so simple that it's like,
I know.
well, yeah, I totally get it. But it really gets you thinking, man. Really gets you thinking.
Yeah,
Okay, so
we'll
the next,
see in our lifetime. It won't be like in the next like year, but maybe it's the next 5 years, maybe it's the next 10 years. You
yeah,
know, it's coming and it's coming quick. And then when it comes, man, that's when you're gonna have be in two worlds. You're gonna have the CBDC world where you have all the control, and you're gonna have DeFi. DeFi will be the only place that you're gonna have freedom, where you'll have self sovereignty, where you'll have your human rights, your freedom to transact with censorship resistance. You're not gonna have that in the CBDC world. It won't be like that. It's gonna be social credit score. It's going to be like, oh, you talked about the president on your social media. Okay, your funds are turned off. Oh no, this week you go only buy meat that's made with bugs. You know, you can't buy chicken. You can't buy. They can control you that
yeah.
way, and you got to be careful, man. So educating yourself about just digital assets in general now, whether you want to buy them or not or get involved, is very smart. You need to educate yourself because it's coming and it's coming fast. But for me, man, I know the next revolution is crypto, and DeFi is the only place I'm going to have true freedom. And so that's why I'm participating in that sector. One of the reasons. So
So it could be like Star Wars. So where it's like, you got the good guys versus bad guys. You got the rebellion. You got the I can't remember what the bad guys' names are.
oh yeah, yeah, I know you're talking about. Yeah. Yeah. I
The
can't remember.
Republic or something like that.
The
I can't remember
Republic
what
and
it
the
is.
Rebellion. Yep, yep, that
Yeah.
was it. That was it.
So okay, that's interesting. What platforms are you buying stuff on? You said you don't do any of the
Centralized exchanges. Nope.
centralized exchanges. So where are you buying stuff?
I buy directly on chain is where I buy everything. So I interact with the blockchain where I hold my own keys to my crypto. I'm being my own bank. And so when I buy something, I go to one of the decentralized exchanges like Uniswap or SushiSwap or Change Now. There's just to name a few. And I can go on there and I can swap whatever crypto I want. This is peer-to-peer transaction swaps. So like on Uniswap, you can become a liquidity provider. You can go, hey, I have a bunch of Ethereum and I have a bunch of USDC. I'm going to provide liquidity with these two pairs, and I'm going to allow the public, everyone else out in the world, to come in and use my pair, and I'm going to get fees off of that. That's called a liquidity provider. It's a great way to make passive income in crypto. And so you can become the market maker on these decentralized exchanges because there's no CEO, there's no management team. It's decentralized. It's beautiful, and you control your own keys.
So where does MetaMask fall into that? Because I feel like that's one of the more popular ones too.
Sure. It's a soft wallet. MetaMask is a soft wallet. You can use it as a wallet where you hold crypto in it. It's not advised because MetaMask get hacked all the time. You wanna have your crypto or your keys in a hardware wallet, like a Trezor or a Ledger, and then you connect your Trezor up into the MetaMask, and the MetaMask is how you view the blockchain.
Yeah, I've done all that. So with MetaMask, then you can still buy stuff through there. So it uses a decentralized exchange.
It's using a router inside MetaMask, and then you're paying their fees. Did you know who owns MetaMask?
No one, right?
No, it is owned.
Okay, who's it owned by?
JP Morgan.
What?
Don't use MetaMask as an exchange. All those fees are generating in there is getting paid to a bank. That's why we're not in crypto. And so use a decentralized exchange. Use a decentralized exchange for any you're buying and selling.
That's wild.
Plus you get a better deal.
Yeah,
you don't have to pay the fee.
That's insane. Okay, so where are you doing the research for your projects?
So yeah, that's tough. So the crypto lives in a few different places. It lives on Twitter. It lives on YouTube. The YouTube, there is just, I mean, hundreds of thousands of hours you can find in YouTube on crypto, and it lives in Telegram. I love Telegram because Telegram, for good projects, they will create a Telegram room, and all the devs, all the project founder, the community, everyone's in that Telegram chat, and usually they open live spaces like basic Q&A, and you could talk directly with the devs, you could talk directly with the founder, and you could spend hours in there just doing research, just in Telegram. Telegram alone is a beautiful tool. Beautiful tool. So those are the main places. Obviously, you're going to want to get the white paper. You're going to want to research the community. What kind of community does it have? Where is the narrative coming from? What problem they're trying to solve on the blockchain? You want to make sure the code's audited. And so some of your research is going to have to find whether you're a dev or you know a dev team. We know a dev team. And the dev team does all the audits for us, and they tell us what's, behind the code, because I can't read code, right? That's like,
right.
I haven't gone that far, although I'm learning a little bit. I know how to run a node validator now, and I have to learn Linux, and I had to do command line to get the node validator up. There is some code to that. But I can't read, like, if you write a code for a new coin, I can't go in there and go, oh yeah, it's got admin keys. Oh, the admin keys allows him to mint inflation to this group of people. There's coins out there like that. It's crazy. So, but this group of devs, that's what they do. It's all they do is they audit code, and we make sure that they've audited it, and it's kind of got the green light approval on the audit. And so, what's the results of the audit? And so that's a lot of the due diligence you got to do. Due diligence, can't talk today. That you need to do. It takes a lot of hours to learn. Even about one project. I got one project right now that I've been learning about for the last probably week. It's been a week, and I'm still learning about it every single day, of all the tokenomics and what its main function is. And it's funny because its main function, to put it in simple terms, you know what Zapier is? For websites, and it integrates all these different tools that we use. Well, there's a protocol being built on the blockchain that does the exact same thing, that can automate your DeFi and automate your compounding with all these different, whatever the sky's the limits. And it's got a token associated to it. And I'm researching all the stuff, behind that protocol right now. It's absolutely amazing. I'm going pretty heavy into this protocol. It's going to be huge.
So that's a perfect segue into my last question, which is, what are your favorite cryptocurrencies right now? Where are you putting all your money?
Yeah, bro.
Hex.
I love Hex, but Hex. So we'll talk about Hex. Here's what I love about Hex. Hex has already gone through a market cycle, which is great. When you have a cryptocurrency that goes through a market cycle, it is here to stay. It's got a massive community behind it. It's got 300,000 people who hold Hex in their wallet. There's over 120,000 people who stake Hex. And so it's just massive. The narrative is massive too. The narrative is it's a CD on the blockchain. Just how when you go down the bank, you can lock up your money and you can come back and, whatever that time duration is, and get your money back plus the inflation. Because that's what it is. It's an inflation. It's the same with Hex. And so, with those tokenomics, man, and community behind it, it did a 10,000x in a year and a half. Meaning, if you put $1,000 into Hex when it first came out and sold at its market top, you would have made $10 million.
That's wild.
That is crazy, right? And it came down 97% off its all-time high during this bloody bear market. And I was there buying it like crazy at the bottom. And so we're starting to climb back up again. It hit 1.7 cents. We're at 7 cents right now, like 7 or 7.5. I started going heavy at 1.7. We're going to go to $2. In my opinion, this is not financial advice, but I think Hex is going to $2 in the next bull run.
Really?
And you can
think it sounds crazy, huh?
And you can earn yield while you're waiting for that bull run. So I would say 9 out of 10 cryptos that we own produce passive income. The key is to find out where the passive income comes from, the yield. Because if you can't pinpoint where the yield comes from, you're the yield. meaning it's a Ponzi. They're paying old investors with new investors with money. But if you could, with proper due diligence, you can find protocols that produce yield legitimately. I'll give you an example of one. There's a decentralized exchange called Famous. It's launching on Ethereum and it's launching on Pulse Chain, which that's one of my favorite. We'll talk about that in here in a second. But this decentralized exchange, people could come in and do leverage trading. I don't leverage trade. I'm a buy and hold investor. But I tell you what, man, if people want to come play in a casino, I want to own the casino. So when you own the Fame token and stake it, all the fees that are earned from the leverage traders, from the degens, all those fees are paid to the stakers that own the Fame token. Passive income. It's like a business on the blockchain. It's like it pays stock dividends. Another one, I'll give you another example. There's this auction house where people could take loans against their hex stakes. They're like bonds. They're movable hex stakes, and you can take a loan against it. If you don't pay the loan back, they go to auction. They go in default. Investors can come in and bid on these bonds, and they can buy them at a discount. And all that money that goes into the auction house, well, there's no CEO. There's no owner of the auction house. There's no management team. Where's all the money go? The stakers. The stakers is where the money goes. And so it's like a business on the blockchain. It's another good example of that. Tetra, the one I was telling you about, the DeFi protocol with all the different crazy, it's like Zapier. You can hook up with this, that, and the other. You can even set Tetra to be a dead man switch, meaning if you were not to go and check on your crypto in 1 year, Tetra would engage and sell and unend your stakes and start moving your money towards your bank account. You can do all kinds of crazy stuff with Tetra. But for every single transaction Tetra does for you that's automated, there's a small fee. The owner of the Tetra coin gets all the fees. There's no owner of the Tetra protocol. There's no CEO. The community earns. And this is why I love DeFi. DeFi is a beautiful thing because basically it gives the power to us. We hold the power in DeFi. So it's amazing. So I don't know where I was going with that, but that's some of my favorite cryptos. When they meet those requirements, they pay me passive income. They have great tokenomics. They got great community. They have, just the code's been audited. Maybe the code's immutable. There's no admin keys. Just to name a few things. So my favorite crypto, and this is where we can kind of start wrapping it up, and your audience needs to hear about this crypto. So some of the best cryptos that come out are layer one blockchains. Layer one meaning those are the rails that all the protocols are built on. Bitcoin's a layer one blockchain. Ethereum is a layer one blockchain. Cardano is a layer one blockchain. There's a new layer one blockchain launching this year. And everyone who's listening, go research it and invest when this comes out. It's called Pulse Chain. Pulse Chain is a new layer one blockchain that is going to be a direct competitor to Ethereum. It is the Burger King to McDonald's. It's faster, it has quicker throughput, and it's launching with over 170 projects already built for Pulse Chain. I am personally researching every single one of those projects. It's crazy. They are forking Ethereum. It is the only blockchain, too, that will have the Ethereum 2.0 code embedded in it. Pulse Chain is going to be bananas. Here's another thing about Pulse Chain. The creator of Pulse Chain has got a track record, a very successful track record. His name is Richard Hart. He created Hex. And he's creating Pulse Chain. So it's about to launch. It's probably going to launch literally in 2 weeks to a month. We've been waiting. Soon, huh? We've been waiting for 2 years. 2 years for this launch. It's one of the biggest moments in like all of our lives. It's insane. Imagine if you can get Ethereum on day one.
Yeah, no kidding. So I know about Pulse Chain. I know about Pulse X.
Yep.
I did. Yes.
Let's
Pulse
go,
X.
bro. Let's go.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right.
I got some good chunks in there.
I did too.
So my question to you is, what's better, Pulse Chain, Pulse X? Because I missed the Pulse Chain train.
Yep.
Okay. But Pulse X I got on.
Yep, I'm in the same boat you're in. I got on day one a sacrifice for Pulse X. Pulse Chain I missed. Uh, if history repeats itself, the layer ones always perform the best. Pulse Chain's the layer one. Pulse X is the DEX, the decentralized exchange that lives on the layer one. Pulse X is like Uniswap on Ethereum, and then you got Ethereum. Ethereum did a 15,000X. Uniswap did not. Pulse X will do well. It's going to do great. Don't get me wrong. You're still good. Your money is good. You're probably going to experience anywhere from a 100 to a 500X, maybe even a 1,000X if we get really lucky. But Pulse Chain, that's the one that could do a 10,000X, in my opinion.
So here's my question to you then, because this is me getting real excited. Gosh, what was the question? When do you think that big X is going to happen? When it goes to the moon, based on all the research you've done,
yeah,
I'm holding Pulse X. When do you think that happens?
There's going to be 2 bull runs for Pulse Chain. One when it comes out, of course, because you got all the FOMO. It's just going to be crazy. Then now we have to follow market cycles. What's the market cycle? When's the next Bitcoin halving coming upon us? When is the next projected market top of Bitcoin? So the next big explosion in all of crypto will be anywhere from the end of 2024 to the beginning of 2026. Anywhere in there will be the market top. We don't know where, but that's fine. We don't need to know exactly where. Just like we don't need to know exactly the bottom, because we DCA. We DCA in unless we sacrifice. We DCA in and we DCA out. We dollar cost average out, and we usually get a dollar cost average out by providing liquidity on a decentralized exchange. That way we don't produce slippage, and that way we're not wrecking ourselves. So the answer to your question, the next market cycle top will be the next time to think about taking money off the table or all your money off the table.
So in a Pulse X scenario, based on the timing of it coming out soon, you think somewhere in the 2024 to 26 range is when it blows up.
Yep.
It's a good time to exit. Now, would you exit all?
Yep.
Take everything off the top and you're out?
Why do you want to experience a 95% correction?
Yeah. Well, the argument would be because you want to wait for the next market cycle bull run.
So take the money off the table, wait, and then come back in at the bottom. Yeah. That's what all the smart investors do. All the big money, the whales, market makers, that's what they all do.
So for Pulse Chain, is there any way to get in on day one? It comes out day one.
Mastermind.
What's that?
There's a lot of different techniques to get into Pulse Chain on day one. This is what we talk about in our group. Like we have a call tonight in 1 hour. Actually, we have our mastermind call in 1 hour, and we'll be talking about day one launch strategies. So I'll give you a quick one though, just for fun. You can buy any ERC20. An ERC20 is just a token on Ethereum, right? Except for Ethereum. Ethereum is not an ERC20. It's kind of funny how it works. So that's the native blockchain. Everything else built on Ethereum is an ERC20. You can buy any ERC20, for example, Hex. Hex is an ERC20 that lives on Ethereum. You can buy Hex, hold it for the copy because Pulse Chain's forking Ethereum. Yep. It's going to fork Ethereum, and everything that exists on Ethereum will exist on Pulse Chain. It's a full system state fork. And so you will get copies of Hex over on the Pulse Chain. You can do one or two things now, or 3 things. One, you can hold your P, we call P Hex, Pulse Chain Hex. You can hold your P Hex because you're a Hex believer and you want to stake it and earn yield. You can do that. 2, you could trade your Hex pre-bridge. Meaning there's going to be a bridge. There's going to be a bridge coming in when Pulse Chain launches. Now we're getting technical. When Pulse Chain launches, when Pulse Chain launches, you're going to have 24 to 48 hours to do ratio swapping with all your ERC20s and or your sacrifice coins, Pulse X and Pulse Chain. So you could hold that your Hex, free bridge, swap it into Pulse Chain, and then you got Pulse Chain before, right at launch. Now, a better play, though, would probably be is let the bridge come in, let the community come over and bring economic energy, because what is the first thing they're going to buy when Pulse Chain goes live? Hex. There's over 300,000 hexagons. They're going to come over and bring new money in and start buying hex, especially if it's cheap. So if you already own hex over on Ethereum side, liquid, and the Pulse chain launches and that bridge comes in, wait for hex to establish its valuation, its price discovery, and then swap hex into Pulse chain, and you'll get a way better deal. And there's more strategies beyond that. There's a lot of our last mastermind call, we were on there for 3 hours discussing launch strategy.
I can see why. I'm over here. I know enough to understand what's going on. I wouldn't say I know enough to be dangerous. I'm sure some people are going to listen to this and just like their eyes are glued listening, like I'm taking notes while I'm listening to you on my computer, like just thinking my wheels are spinning. I've got people I'm going to call after this,
Yeah. And you need to have a launch strategy. You need to have a business plan. You need to write that business plan down. I'll give you a good example. I have a DCA strategy. The DCA strategy is broken up over 90 days, 3 months. So say you take $100,000, right? And you're going to deploy it into Pulse chain. You would break it up twice every single week, for 3 months. Now, the exception to the rule is if Pulse chain launches at a 1 to a 3x from sacrifice price. Sacrifice price was decimal, 3 zeros and a 1. If it launches at a 1 to a 3x, I'm aping all in. There's no DCA. I'm all in. Boom. If it launches from a 4 to 5x, I ape half in and DCA the rest of my bag over the course of 3 months. If it launches from a 6 to a 9x, I ape a quarter of my bag in and then DCA the remainder over 3 months. If it launches from a 10x and above, I'm just pure DCA. Now, it's retroactive too. My rule is retroactive. So say that it launches at 11x. I'm like, DCA. So I put my normal DCA amount. Say a month in, it takes a dip and it dives down towards only a 2x from sacrifice price. I'm all in.
Mm.
So it's retroactive. You got to have a business plan and you got to stick to it and not let your emotions get involved, because there's going to be a lot of people who are going to get FOMO and a lot of people are going to get wrecked because they couldn't control their emotions. One of the greatest things I've learned in crypto is know thyself, know your emotions. You have to take your emotions out of the equation, out of the scenario. You got to take, it can't be any emotion. So write it down. Dane does Excel spreadsheets and he sticks to the Excel spreadsheet where I write everything down in journals, and I got my journal all out when I'm doing my crypto investing. So you have to treat it like a business.
Yeah. That's wild. I took a lot of notes there. I think anybody that understands a fraction of it will be taking notes too. I got two more, one question, and then I want you to share how people can get a hold of you. So My question is, someone here heard this, they're freaking out about crypto. They want to get involved. Yeah. And you basically said, don't go to Coinbase and buy anything right now. How do I start? Like, what is the first thing that I need to do to be able to take fiat currency, dollar, and transfer it into, let's say, Hex? What's my process to go buy Hex right now that's not through Coinbase?
It's tough because the easy ways, the way that everyone teaches is like just you open a centralized exchange account, onboard money in the centralized exchange, and maybe you could pull out that money and put it in DeFi, right? But the onboarding process is the centralized exchanges. We know a company. We don't talk about it much, but this company is an escrow account. It's registered as a real estate escrow account, as a matter of fact. All I do is wire money into that escrow account, and I get stable coins immediately minted in my wallet like that. I bypass the exchange.
Is this, I'm going to try to use acronyms. Is this TCTC? If you know how to, I don't know if you want to say it or not. Do you want to say it?
Yeah. I mean, so the name of the company, you can look it up if you can do it in your state. Some states you can do it. Some states you can't. There's ways around that too. This is crypto, man. It's the wild, wild west of doing stuff. But if you want to look it up and see if you're compliant in your state, it's called Trust Token. Is the name of the company. You can look them up. They're a great company. Like I said, they're registered as a real estate trust. They make all their money from lending, so you pay no fees. That's another beautiful part about it. You get stable coins minted directly into your hardware wallet with no fees.
What?
No fees. And you bypass the centralized exchange. So what you want to do is if you want to get into Pulse Chain, you can do that. And then when the bridge opens for Pulse Chain, you're going to need to bridge over your stable coins, your economic energy over to Pulse Chain.
So you'd recommend buying a stable coin as opposed to Hex or something else like that?
It depends on what your goal is. It depends on what you're going after, right? I don't know what you're going after and how much economic energy. Like we'd have to sit down and have an hour discussion on what your portfolio looks like or where you want it to look like. What are your goals out of this, out of the whole ecosystem? And then we could sit down and break down like somebody who has a little bit of economic energy, like somebody who's like, oh, I only got $5,000 I want to invest. I'm going to tell them that, just, bring in stable coin and only use the stable coin route, like, and to DCA your way in. Don't try doing some of these more advanced strategies because I don't want to risk you getting wrecked. So
yeah, it depends. Got it.
It depends. Yeah.
Where can people find you, man? We have. I feel like we could go another couple hours. Like you warned me,
especially in the crypto topic, man. And
you
I'm
warned me at the beginning, but
I got my mastermind here in 45 minutes, and we're probably going to talk another 2 or 3 hours tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun.
That's awesome, dude.
So yeah, dude, the best place to follow me or find me is on social media. On Facebook, it's Corey Geary. On Instagram, it's the Corey Geary. And so on there, you can find me, you can message me. Usually it's either me or it's my assistant who's answering those DMs. So my assistant's in there too. You can find me on Twitter, but don't expect to see anything real estate related on Twitter whatsoever. Twitter is pure crypto, and that's Corey Geary also. You're going to see, me very integrated into the Hex community, the Richard Hart community, the Pulse Chain community. There is nothing talked about real estate in there. It's all tech stuff, dev stuff, node validator, liquidity providing, all that good stuff. It's
all the good nerd stuff that just
it's so much fun, man. I'm having a freaking blast. And man, it pays so well, dude. Once you really learn the DeFi protocols that are legitimate, the ones that, that have good use case, man, they pay so well. On average, my portfolio creates about 20% a month. Month, not a year. We're in real estate, you hear about 20% a year, like, oh, that's great. It's really good. I got a development project I'm invested in that pays me 20% a year out in Atlanta, Georgia. But this is a month, 20% a month. It pays you. And man, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it.
Well, dude, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. I'm fired up and excited. Like my wheels are turning like crazy. That's what I was hoping. I hope everybody that listened to it had the same experience. So make sure to reach out to Corey, guys. He's got a million different ways that you guys can find synergies and alignment. And that's what this is all about. This is what it's all about, man, is getting together with
related.
people.
We got Novation stuff, come over and see us, talk about Novations. That's perfectly fine. We have a course on Novation Nation's natural course that has all my paperwork involved if you want that. Or if you just have questions. And then in crypto space, man, that's where I'm really passionate about. Like I said, we have a mastermind for that. We have 90 members in our mastermind. Freaking Robert Allen's coming into our group.
Yeah, that's huge news.
Dude, it's so much fun.
Well, dude, thank you so much for jumping on and going through everything.
Absolutely.
And until next time, everybody, peace.
See you guys.
See ya.